If you are thinking about picking one up, I just want to walk you through my experience using it on my own yard, the stuff that felt genuinely helpful in day-to-day mowing, and the parts that still took some getting used to. What this mower is for is pretty straightforward. It is for someone who wants a riding mower experience without gas, without pull starts, and without the usual routine of oil changes and engine maintenance. In my case, I wanted something I could grab and use without the whole warm-up, smell, and noise situation. I also wanted a mower that could handle normal lawn work with some obstacles, some tight areas, and a little bit of slope, because that is what my property looks like. What makes this one feel different in regular use is the combination of being electric and being zero-turn. The zero-turn part changes how you move around trees and edges. The electric part changes how it feels while you are doing it. The first thing I noticed was the sound. It is not silent because you still hear the blades and you still hear the machine doing work, but it is a lot less harsh than a gas mower. I could hear what was happening around me, and when I finished, I did not have that feeling of being rattled by noise. The mower itself looks and feels like a real piece of equipment. When I climbed on, the seat had enough cushion that I did not feel beat up after a longer session. The controls were laid out in a way that made sense once I spent a little time with it. I am used to more traditional steering, so the zero-turn controls were the biggest adjustment. The first time I used it, I was a little jerky. I was overcorrecting, and I had to slow down and remind myself to be gentle with the inputs. After a couple of mowing sessions, it started to feel natural, and then the turning control became the whole reason I preferred it. The cutting deck is 42 inches, and in real life that matters because it changes how many passes you need. On my lawn, I could finish quicker compared to a smaller deck, and I could still fit through the areas I needed to fit through. It felt like a good middle ground for a yard that is not tiny, but also not a wide open field. Setup was mostly about getting it ready, charging the batteries, and learning the controls. There is still that initial time investment where you want to make sure everything is seated correctly and charged, and that you understand the basic routine. After that, daily use is simple. For me it became, check the charge, hop on, start it, and mow. The electric start is the kind of thing you stop thinking about once you have it, but going back to gas after using this feels annoying. There is no pull start drama, no fuel can, no wondering how it is going to behave if it has been sitting for a bit. Battery life is the main thing people will ask about, and I can only tell you how it behaved for me. It came with 8 amp-hour batteries, and I was able to mow my yard without it feeling like it was fading halfway through. The power stayed consistent during the cut. Where it can get tricky is when you are dealing with bigger properties, thicker grass, or you let the lawn go too long and you are trying to cut a lot at once. That is when you may end up watching the charge more closely, and that is when a mid-session recharge can become part of your routine. I had a couple of times where I realized I should have charged earlier, or I should have planned the mowing in 2 parts, because I wanted to do the whole thing in one go. Charging was easier than I expected. The dual-port turbochargers helped because I was not stuck charging one battery at a time. In practice, what that meant for me was less waiting around. I could mow, plug in, and come back later and be in good shape for the next session. It still takes time, and you still have to plan around charging the same way you plan around fuel in a gas mower, but it felt more predictable and less messy. As far as the cut quality, the lawn looked even and consistent when I was done. I paid attention to the areas that usually look rough, like turns near the edges, and the spots where I have to maneuver around obstacles. Once I got used to the steering, I was able to get closer to edges and clean up around trees without doing a bunch of awkward back and forth moves. The zero-turn control made trimming passes feel more intentional, and I spent less time correcting my line. I tested it on a mix of flat ground and moderate slope. It did not feel underpowered, and it did not feel like it was struggling as long as I drove it like a mower, and not like I was trying to rush through the whole yard. If you hit tall grass at full speed, you can tell the mower is working harder. The better approach for me was to slow down in the thick spots and let the blades do their job. That gave me a cleaner cut and avoided that feeling of forcing the machine. Comfort is another thing that only matters after you have been on it for a while. I could sit on this for a longer mow without my back feeling wrecked. The ride is still a mower ride. You feel bumps, but the seat and general layout made it less tiring than I expected. The turning controls also meant I was not constantly fighting a steering wheel, which helped over time. On the smart features and the mobile app, I will keep it simple. I do like having extra information available, especially around battery status and basic checks. That said, I did not find myself relying on an app to mow. Most of the time, I just wanted the mower to be ready, start easily, and finish the yard. If you enjoy checking status on your phone, it is useful. If you do not care, you can still use the mower like a normal person and not feel like you are missing the experience. There are a few limitations I think are worth being honest about. The learning curve is real if you have never used a zero turn. Give yourself space the first time. I practiced in an open area before I got close to anything I could bump into. Battery planning is also real. If your property is large, or you tend to mow infrequently, and the grass gets tall, you may need to break the job into chunks or consider having extra batteries available. Also, because it is quieter, it can sneak up on people nearby more than a loud gas mower would. So I found myself being more aware of pets and anyone walking near the yard. Overall, after using it in normal conditions, this mower made mowing feel more manageable and less of a chore. I liked the quiet operation. I liked the consistent power during the cut. And once I learned the controls, I really liked the zero-turn maneuvering. The main trade-off is that you have to think about charging and battery time in the same way you would think about fuel, just in a different format. If your yard size lines up with what this can handle in one session, it fits nicely into a routine. If your yard is bigger, it can still work, but you will want to plan your mowing and charging with more intention. I will post full information about the Greenworks 60V 42-inch cordless electric CrossoverZ zero-turn riding mower in the comments section. See you in the following videos.